welcome to the Underground Society podcast.
Thank you for having me, man.
I saw some pictures of you standing next to Shaq, and like, comparative to most people, you actually held your own.
I think the angle of those pictures kind of helped me out a little bit.
What were you doing, like, work-wise before music really became like a revenue stream?
I was a grinder, man. Multiple male review shows. That's where I first kind of made a name for myself in my city, was for male review shows. It was the most insane thing to me. And I was like, this is what I want to do. I wasn't like the person that was invited to parties.
What was the reasoning for that?
And I still don't know why. I didn't do anything. I was dating like my pastor's daughter.
They make movies about that.
You could get away with some stuff. I wanted more and more and more until I literally couldn't operate, really. Like blackout.
Oh my God. Holy shit.
I remember me looking in the mirror like, I'm gonna die if I don't stop. In retrospect, it's unbelievable.
Freaky, welcome to the Underground Society podcast.
Thank you for having me, man.
Hell yeah, thank you for being here. I've been wanting to get you on the pod for like over a year now, so it's awesome.
We're here.
Being able to talk to you. So I want to start off with, I know you have a long history in music, making different genres, everything from hardstyle to big room and now dubstep. How long have you been in music?
Yeah, I'm still kind of like, I'm at that on the cusp point right now, but it's whenever I tell people that I'm like 10 years into pursuing like musical stuff and musical dreams and things, it was the right after Christmas of 2011. So like beginning of 2012, I would probably say,
okay,
if I had to put a more exact timestamp on it.
And I was still in high school.
Really? No way.
Yeah,
See, I told you, man.
15.
My 30th birthday was just last week, as you know. So, like, I'm an old head, man.
Happy birthday again.
Thank you, dude. Thank you, dude.
You're welcome.
We're in our prime right now. So I started actually DJing before producing. So like,
okay,
I was a club DJ and stuff around Charlotte, and I was playing. I was just grinding, man. Like I was, I had just loved music like forever, and all different genres and stuff, all growing up and stuff. I like danced a little bit, so like I had some. I've always had like rhythm, and things like that. So music has always been like a gigantic part of my life. But I grew up in sports, so I was right. I was playing.
You're a big dude. A lot of people might not know this,
yeah,
but I mean, I saw some pictures of you standing next to Shaq, and like, comparative to most people, you actually held your own.
I think the angle of those pictures kind of helped me out a little bit, because I'm not even close to him.
He's a giant.
In retrospect, it's unbelievable.
So what sports were you playing? Would you grow up playing?
So I played soccer right into basketball season, right into baseball season, probably year round for like, God, at least 10 years. At least 10 years. But when I became a junior in high school, I had to cut one of the sports. I had to narrow down kind of, like my workload, and I had to pick like two sports.
What was the reasoning for that?
It was exhausting.
Okay.
It just, I always tell people that I wish I could go back and repick the sport that I ended up dropping, because I felt like that was the one I was best at, which was basketball. Because I played basketball, but that's the one I had to drop when I was a junior, because at the time I was just a baseball player. Like I just played baseball my entire life. I played that the longest. That's what I ended up going to college and playing. And so that's kind of why I had to narrow it down, because I had to pick my pathway of which one I wanted to pursue, like going forward.
Right.
And so I had always played soccer and everything my whole life too. But when it came down to making a choice, basketball was in the winter, and it kind of carried over into the start of baseball workouts and things. So,
right.
And soccer could keep me, it would help with my conditioning, and it would help my stamina. So whenever baseball season did come around, I didn't have an off season or anything like that. So I was already running, and I went through a full soccer season, and getting that cardio and that conditioning. So when baseball, I was ahead of I was ahead of most people, unless they played soccer too.
I played water polo, being from the West Coast.
See, bro,
I played water polo.
I've tried that once.
It's hard.
It's exhausting. There's just moving around in water is exhausting.
Because there's always resistance. It's not like moving here. Where,
And you have to make
there's
like
no
athletic moves.
Yeah.
You got to make really,
Yeah.
really athletic moves.
Yeah. But swimming in the off season was what we did.
Yeah.
Or playing like off season polo. So I totally get staying in shape helps tremendously.
Yeah. 100%. 100%.
You're from North Carolina, right?
So I lived in North Carolina for 20 years.
Okay.
Basically.
Where'd you move to?
Okay.
You recently just moved, right?
So I did. Me and my wife just bought a house in Virginia, the western part of Virginia. It's a very centralized location to like all of our friends and family and stuff. And we had wanted to kind of like settle down and stuff because my life for the past few years has been kind of like all over the place and everything. Yeah. So like I've always kind of longed for and wanted that, that like home base, you know what I mean? To where you can come home and you can relax and you can unwind and decompress and stuff.
Right. That's super important. You need your rest. That's something I've learned and I've talked about a lot. Is
physical and mental rest.
Yeah, learning how to actually take a step back and learning the importance of that so that you can be more effective when it's time to go.
Right.
Yeah. What was going back to North Carolina? What was like the scene there when you first got started?
Well, so the weird thing is when I started, following and liking electronic music at the time, because you got to think of what happened to that. Like let's just take EDM in it for example, but we'll narrow it down to like bass music, right? So back when I started, like 2012 to the 10 years, this is the 10 years I've been basically a part of the music scene. So like from 2012 to 2022, that's a lot of, like, you were a weirdo if you listened to this stuff. You know what I mean? Because people didn't know about it, and if people don't, or they didn't understand it really as music, and it really wasn't considered music at that time. Maybe a couple years before that, but still. And I think, Excision's a big part of that. Skrillex is a big part of that. And people, I remember when it was so new, and like Skrillex was on MySpace and stuff like that. And when MySpace was like the thing, and people didn't even think, like, people thought Skrillex was a genre of music.
I remember,
you know what I mean? Like when people, when you said the word like dubstep to someone,
like, what is that?
They'd be like, what is that? And I would say Skrillex, and they'd be like, oh yeah, I know what that is. And then they'd be like, that's dubstep. And then they're like, no, that's Skrillex. And it's like,
yes, but it's the same thing in a way.
And realistically, like, and this is just what I firmly believe. I don't think any of us would be doing anything that we're doing in regards to electronic music without Skrillex. Just
definitely not.
We wouldn't, because he modernized it. He made it cool. It was new and fresh, and he took it and he essentially on his back, And
what's cool is since that point too, like genres that have been around longer than dubstep, trance, house, stuff like that, by him kind of making it more mainstream, it also helped those genres. Because I know a lot of people who listen to dubstep or EDM just listen to all the different genres.
It brought people into the culture so that they could understand the culture and the music on top of that. So,
I was talking to VRG as well a couple episodes ago at the end of last year. Yeah, I know you guys are really good friends. And he's obviously from a small town as well, and saying, from being from a small market and the struggles with that. And it sounds like kind of where you were from, or it was kind of the same way. What was your experience with like coming from a smaller market? And like, do you think that had anything to do with why it's taken so long to like gain traction and stuff?
I used to think that my geographical location mattered. At the early stages.
At the time, it kind of did back then, though. Now it doesn't, because the internet's so powerful.
Yeah, exactly. It was. I felt like this. Okay, this is a bad, because I love this question, so I want to give you my full good answer on this. Is that early on, when things weren't moving the way I wanted them to, I would make excuses. I would say that a lot. That's why I love answering this question, because in my brain, I remember saying those things to myself, like, God, if I was just in LA, or if I was in, wherever, or New York, or Orlando, or Tampa, or something like that. Like, if I was in one of these major markets, it would be so totally different. And then after that, I started to, I think over COVID, really, honestly, when things started to click for me, like mentally and industry wise, I feel like when everything kind of like stopped and everything kind of came to a halt, and it affected, our industry like a lot, and all the artists and everybody and management, everybody affiliated with the industry, like it hurt everybody. But it was really a time for me to stop and actually get my mind right for what's to come, if that makes sense. Um, and it really, I had to do some like soul searching and really figure out for myself what direction I wanted to go. And am I going to choose what they want me to make, or am I going to choose to make
What fulfills
myself
you?
happy and
Yeah.
everything like that? And I don't think, I used to think it mattered what market I came from, and now I'm a big advocate because I do like mentorship, and I talk to
Hmm.
artists on the come up and help them out, because I wish that I had that kind of help, or somebody that
Right.
told me the rights and wrongs to do, or how to do this or how to do this in order to become successful. Like I wish I had somebody that could have like told me those things,
Right. Right.
because I felt like it could have sped up and it could have helped me, you know, be ahead of the game, and maybe be at a different point at this point. But I also would never change any way how that anything has happened, or how long it's taken, or whatever.
Yeah.
I tell people like, yo, I'm 30 years old. I'm in year 10, and I'm the hungriest I've ever been.
Which is good.
And
You got plenty. You got plenty of time too. 30's still young.
yeah, I think as long as you see progression in what you're
Yeah.
trying to do, and you see progression in yourself, and you're still able to, you know, pursue your dream, like don't quit, and
Yeah.
don't stop. And that's kind of the mindset that I've taken being from a small market.
Hmm.
I think as long as you work hard and you put in the hours, and you work on things and all aspects of this, there's that you can be successful from anywhere. I
Absolutely.
don't think it matters. I think if you work
Yeah.
hard, and you'll always get out what you put in. That's what I believe.
I was listening to your interview with Dubstep FBI
Hmm.
going into this, talking to you today, and they were talking about how like there's even a market in like North Dakota. There's like places
Yep.
that you wouldn't even think that has like solid fan bases and have like loyal fans there.
Yep.
So you can truly be from anywhere. What were you doing like work wise before music really became like a revenue stream for you?
So when I've had, throughout this journey, I've had like a couple here and there, like part-time
Hmm.
jobs and stuff. But because I started in like DJing in nightclubs and doing open format stuff, I was doing open format stuff. I was doing country
Which brings
bars.
in money.
I was
Yeah.
doing, yeah, I was a grinder, man. Like
Hmm.
I would play anything. Like I did multiple male review shows, dude.
Oh shit.
I've DJ'd it all. Uh, and that's a fun fact for the day. But I was DJing, you know, really, and making decent money for somebody who was living in Charlotte at the time.
Hmm.
Now it's a lot more expensive to live in Charlotte than it was then.
Yeah.
But I was living in there. I always had roommates. I did whatever it took, kind of just to be able to essentially make it to the next day. You know what I
Right.
mean? And I was DJing like 3-4 nights a week, and I did,
That's
and I
starving artist for
bro,
sure.
I that's where I first kind of made a name for myself in my city,
Uh-huh.
was from being the young, like, new kid on the block, because I was 19 at the time when I started DJing, like in these clubs and stuff. And when you're playing around in different areas, and you're meeting people, or you're seeing the same people, and you're making connections that way, and that's what I was doing. I would do that, and then during the day, like after I woke up, like I would just produce all day, and just
That's what
repeat.
I was gonna ask. When did the producing thing kind of kick in? Because you started as a DJ,
Well,
so.
okay, so the reason, this is how I decided that I was like, nah, this electronic music stuff, it was what I want to do,
Hmm.
because I had never been to a show before, and I went to my very
Okay.
first show, it was at this venue, in a legendary venue that has, you know, since closed down. It was called the Chop Shop, and it was in like the art district of Charlotte called Noda.
Hmm.
And I went, and it was it was a Bro Safari show.
Oh, cool.
Bro Safari. This was like
They're not even doing anything really anymore.
Yeah, this was like when everything was still becoming new, but like you had these like hip hoppy, trappy influence. Like with Bro Safari, you had, you know, RL at the beginning of his stages. You had Stooky Sound and you know, Troy Boy and freaking
legends of the game.
So many people. And I went to this show, and I had never seen like a crowd move that way.
Mm.
And like I'm a big energy guy. Like in regards to like I feed off
receiving
of,
and right.
You know.
Yep.
But I was like, this is insane. Nobody was fighting. Everybody was just.
Yeah, dude. Yeah.
I always ask people. I always ask people all the time whenever I'm talking about the EDM scene and explaining it to people, or trying to make a point about it or something.
Yeah.
I'm always like, let me ask you, how many times have you been to an electronic music event and seen a fight? And everybody's same answer is always 0.
Yeah, I've seen like maybe one, but
but like
it was, yeah, but it's like barely, never, yeah.
But I went to the show, and I was like, okay, this guy up here is DJing, but like when you're DJing in the clubs, like you're getting attention, but you're not essentially at the same time. Like people want music to be played, and like it's cool to see the DJ if they're good and whatever, and watch them for a second or see who it is. But like you were still kind of like mixing and mingling with the people that were on the dance floor and the bartenders and like all that. So, but you have people. I'd been to a concert before, and I hadn't been to a electronic music event. So
right.
I'm just now starting to like DJ, so I understand what DJing is. But then I went to it, and I was like, holy shit, this is like a concert. But like the people are here to watch this guy perform.
Yeah.
And
which is different than the open format stuff, because most of the time the main focus isn't the DJ.
Yeah.
The DJ's just there to support the vibe of the room. Yeah.
It was the most insane thing to me. And I was like, this is it. I was like, this is what I want to do. So I DJ'd literally in the nightclubs in Charlotte till like 2018.
Oh wow. Okay.
And all this time, I was learning every hour, every second, really. And then I got that I was at home, I was producing all the time. And I because I wanted it so badly. And I grew up in the SoundCloud era, to where the simpler times, man, I miss those times. Because it was just like you could. It was strictly about music. Like you could somebody could release a song, right? And you could be the first person to remix that song. You could go bootleg an artwork off of Google Images, go to your Paint and put your logo on it. And you could release it that day, and you could literally tour off of that. Because the usage rate on SoundCloud was so much higher than it is now.
So, yeah, SoundCloud's like, I mean, I think even
it like drastically, almost overnight. It seemed like 1 year. I can't remember exactly what year it was. It might have been 2018, 2019.
Yeah,
it might have been.
I know. I transitioned. I used to only listen to SoundCloud. Now it's like I listen to Spotify.
I mean, people do.
Yeah.
People do.
People still do. Yes. Yeah. Especially the underground artists too. They're still active.
When you were talking about electronic music, for the most part, you're like,
it was
this
all
is
there.
SoundCloud.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, dude, that's what I would do. That's how I began learning fundamentals of production and learning how to do different tips and tricks and do all these things, and create all these different genres of music. Because when I was remixing stuff, I was never like putting myself in a box.
Pigeonhole,
I just don't see the reason why creatively,
Yeah.
You can have a niche, but
it's better creatively to not pigeonhole yourself, because then you can try out different things. You can maybe, look at Millennium or like the melodic dubstep wave or whatever. Like they're taking other things from pop music or, and incorporating it and making it their own. So, and I think that's super important for artists to not only gain traction, but get a name for themselves, is like create something that sounds different. When I'm listening to music, I want to listen to something that sounds new and fresh.
I just think that, it's cool if you have like your preference of stuff, but like, for me, like artistry goes beyond just what I feel like I'm best at. I feel like I'm always like in competition with myself and like trying to push myself and to push myself creatively and work with different BPMs, work with different genres, incorporate other subgenre elements into something and make it sound different, or like anything, any kind of example like that. I just feel like people don't express themselves like creatively and push themselves creatively as much as they do, because they're trying to please a group of people, or they're trying a specific group of people.
Bringing it back to when you said, music was the only thing you needed, you could do it off one release. Now, like you said, like it used to be just the music. Now it's like the brand, like the feel of the music, like everything has to be almost like cohesive per artist. So people are like, okay, it has to be cohesive. I can only make this. And it's like, no. And you see guys like Blank or guys like you or guys like who've produced different things and, make it all part of one brand. I think those kind of people are next level.
I think also that it's hard to do multiples. It's difficult.
Yes.
And I think people a lot of times take the safe route and they keep giving people exactly what they want. Thing. And I kind of believe that if somebody says they support your music, it shouldn't matter what it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you really are a true supporter of somebody's artistry, in more ways than one, it doesn't even have to just be their music, or it could be their story. It could be their brand. It could be, what kind of dog do you have? You know what I mean?
True. Yeah.
And I just believe that if you support that person and you in public or behind the scenes say you support that person, but then when they release, let's say a dubstep artist releases a melodic song that's completely different than it's like the opposite side of the spectrum of what they normally do, and you have something negative to say about it, you're not really a true supporter of that person, in my opinion.
Yep. And there's people that produce all different types of genres and stuff under the same brand. I'm like, okay, that song, not my favorite, but their other shit's really good, so I'm still going to support them.
But it's like, but I still fuck with you, like in a way,
Yep. Kind of taking the subject off of music for a second. I know we got into talking a little bit about when we were talking in person in Denver about you being connected to like becoming a pastor and stuff like that. Well, where did that fit in your journey?
So I'll just say I grew up in a little town called Laurinburg, North Carolina. And I went to a high school called Scotland High School, and I didn't have I had a good high school like life, but I wasn't like the person that was invited to parties or because I didn't do anything. Like I went to church.
Yeah, so much sports going on.
I had ball. I had ball, and then I had church, and then I had like video games when I got home. Like that was literally my entire high school life in a nutshell. So I was really, really involved in my church, and I was dating like my pastor's daughter. Like
they make movies about that.
Yeah. So no, wonderful people.
Yeah.
But I was that's what my life consisted of. That's what it was: ball, church.
Girlfriend.
And video games. And so when I went to college, I spent my first semester of college at Liberty University.
Okay.
Which is in Virginia. It's in Lynchburg, Virginia. And it's the biggest evangelical Christian school, like I think in the US or maybe in the world. I don't know. But I also went there because I was going to play ball. But I had always in my church, I was the oldest one. Uh, and I always like loved talking to like kids my age or even younger,
Hmm.
or using my experiences to help people and to make them, you know, understand the world better, make sure they don't get themselves in any trouble. Like I just always genuinely like cared about people like that. Um, and you can probably tell by how I talk extensively about things
Yeah.
that I'm just very like, this is just how I am.
Yeah.
I have so many experiences or opinions, you know, knowledge of things in the world and things that I've gone through
I
that.
think it's interesting how, in a way, you're like you're one of the older guys within the scene too,
Mhm,
like as a producer.
right.
And back then, you were already used to it because you were one of the older guys, like within your
Yeah,
community back
in
then
a
too.
way, yeah, and because
Yeah.
because I had like, if you played like baseball in our town, like growing up, like you were looked at highly. Let's just
Hmm.
we were a baseball and football school. If you played one of those, you could get away with some stuff. But you were looked at in high regard, let's just say that.
Yeah.
So these kids were younger than me, like at that time even, you know, I'm 15, I'm 16, 15, 16, 17 years old.
Hmm.
And these kids they look up to me in a way as a role model because I played ball, like I was, you know, straight edge. I didn't party, I didn't do anything, but I spent a lot of time around those kids, and I really genuinely began to care for them deeply and want to help them and guide them and down the, you know, path that I was trying to go down. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Um, and so when I went to college, I had to pick a major that I was going to do, and I had always felt like at that time my calling was to be a youth pastor.
That's awesome.
And so I was going to study youth ministry. And do that and then go to like seminary and do that. That's what I wanted to do. I'd always been comfortable in front of people from playing ball and stuff. Like I'm I feel like I'm pretty solid at communicating at times. Um and I thrive in those high pressure scenarios and situations. I always have like my
You
entire
have like
life.
a leader. You have like leadership energy too.
Do
Like
I?
I can just tell. Yeah, yeah, I can just tell by like talking to you that you
Hell
feel like
yeah.
I would feel safe putting my not life in your hands necessarily, but
No,
like
I
I
got
could
you.
trust you.
I got you,
Yeah,
dog.
yeah,
No,
yeah, yeah,
I'm a, I was raised right. Let's just say
yeah,
it.
yeah,
And when you're raised right, you care about people, and you're my
yeah,
size.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can do some good, but I can do
Do
some
some
damage.
damage.
Yeah, you know, I got. Don't make me
So did
mad, man.
when did you decide then? We've talked about your musical journey a lot so far, but when did that kind of when did you make the decision of like, okay, I'm not doing that anymore, and now I really want to pursue this?
Yeah. So, probably. So the reason why I stopped doing club DJing was because the place that I got my first gig at ever, I had to try out, and I played at this
Mm,
club for like 7 years. I was a resident there,
got it.
and maybe it was 7 years, maybe it was like 5 years.
Mm,
And this place is called Bar Charlotte. It was the very first bar I ever went to when I moved to Charlotte. Like, because when I searched it on Google, I searched bars in Charlotte, and this place was
yeah,
called Bar
Bar
Charlotte.
Charlotte.
And it was like a really like party rocking venue, like very party rocking club.
Okay.
Like it had been around for a while, you know, but it was a blast. Um, but I started there, and then when they closed their doors, which was like 20 end of 2017, maybe 2018,
Hmm.
around, I can't remember. I think it's 2017. Um After that was kind of around the time where I was really more involved with electronic music. I was better as a
Okay.
producer. I was getting to the point to where I was making good, like I was making good tunes.
So
Um
you were DJing and stuff while you were still pursuing
yes.
the
Yep.
career side
Yep.
of the religion
It
stuff. Yeah,
was,
yeah.
yeah. Well,
You were doing both.
the religious stuff kind of stopped um when I moved to Charlotte. So
Got it. Okay.
I went to that school, and I didn't necessarily like the school and everything. And I broke up with the girl in high school that
It almost kind
she
of
also
derailed.
went there.
Yeah.
She also went there.
Got it.
So I just was like, I gotta get out of here.
Then you can do something else.
Yeah, I gotta go somewhere.
Yeah.
So my older brother actually went to school at UNC Charlotte. So
Okay.
and they were one of the places that like accepted me like from school like to go there, and I didn't go because I chose to go to Liberty instead. And so when it came to transfer, I was like, okay, like I'll go there because my brother's there already. You know, I'm sure he can introduce me to people, or he knows
Right.
this, but you know,
Right.
and I kind of at the time I'm like 19, 20 years old, and I want to go to the city, and I want to turn up, like,
Yeah, right, yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
And so that's when I was kind of like, I didn't find myself, but I started to take my life in a different direction, like mentally, and you know what I was doing. And because one of the and I'm not gonna get like a lot into this at all for context, like one of the reasons why I left Liberty was because I felt extremely judged for my opinions, because some of them weren't politically correct in regards to the school and how they felt about things. So I really started to, you know, in my younger years, I was thinking for myself at that point. So you're going to see a life change in regards to what your interests are and how you want to go about life at that point after you've lived your life a certain way for a very, very long time. Like a rebellious thing.
With that being said, and I'm sure you're still a religious person yourself, you know, you're probably still a Christian. Has there been any, like, especially during that time when you were going through that big metamorphosis, was there any like tough crossover, like with temptations, or like you said, you mentioned like the people were like had different ways of thinking? Was that a struggle for you? And why I'm saying this is because, you know, wanting to be a youth pastor, people almost look at that as like you have to be like on the straight and narrow. You have to like don't party, don't do anything like this. And you had an interest in EDM, which the stigma is a lot of sex, drugs, rock and roll type situation. Was there an issue there with you when you were going through that?
Maybe a little, but like it's a good question because I'm
asking because I've struggled with that in my own life.
I think I've always been a very strong-minded like person in regards to how I feel about things. And I knew even at that age, when I was going through what I was going through at Liberty and in the process of like transferring and everything, like I knew how I was being spoken to and how I was being perceived was wrong morally. I knew it was. Yeah. And it didn't affect me like it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like a depressive episode or anything like that, but it was more so that like I had to begin to really be strong in regards to my stance on things and what I morally think is right and wrong. You know what I mean? Like, because you're still figuring it out, even at like 19 or 20. That's super young to the point where you want to experience things and you want to experience different things because you're trying to find your way.
Yes.
And where you fit in society, where you fit like for you, like what your life is going to consist of. I mean, for going from 20 to 30 years old in that 10-year span, like is a lot. You know, you go through a lot, you experience a lot, good and bad.
I'm only halfway through, and I've already changed so much in the last 5 years.
Wait, so are you 25?
I'm 25. Yeah.
Okay, I'm about to blow your mind right now. Okay, so I have been saying this statement for years. Okay, so because it happened to me, and when I say this to people, if they've already passed the 25-year mark, they look back and they're like, "You're exactly right." I've never so, and this is gonna blow your mind because then you're gonna remember me saying this whenever it happens to you if it hasn't already.
For sure.
When you turn 25 and you're in year 25, that entire year, there's going to be one or maybe multiple decisions that you're going to have to make sometime in that year, and it's going to affect the next 10 to 15 years of your life based on the decision that you make. And you're not going to know which one at the time is right or wrong. Usually, here's a little hint here, is that usually it's the thing that seems the hardest. So if you've had something major, anything happen, a decision you had to make already in this shortened year so far, maybe it's already happened to you, or you got 11 months left, 10 and a half months left. And not to scare you or anything, but like it happened to me.
I can definitely tell that there is, and I'm in that space right now, and I don't think the decision has been made on a couple of things, but I definitely know what you mean, because there's been a huge shift.
It's coming.
Ever since, like 2022 was the start of that, and
it's coming.
I feel like it's carried. It's
coming, and this year, I'm telling you.
Well, I'm excited for whatever it is.
Oh no, because
the future excites me.
Because it's essentially good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's just funny that every time I've said that to somebody, they're like, "Yeah, you know what I mean?" Like it's like you're a fourth of the way there. You know?
Yeah.
It's a decision making time.
I definitely view life differently in the last year and a half than I have previously. Like I feel like this year, especially, I've become like more of I feel like I'm a full grown adult instead of like, I'm still in this weird like teenage like young adult type fit. I'm like, now I'm like, okay, now I got to take my shit seriously.
Yeah.
So like time's ticking.
No,
so,
I know.
Yeah.
This is the thing that's crazy, is that if I right now tried to have a conversation with my 25-year-old self, I wouldn't be able to sit through it. I would literally go like, this guy is an idiot. This guy has no fucking clue what's going on or what's coming. Like, but it's crazy that 5 years in retrospect is a good decent amount of time, but it's still a little amount of time.
Short amount of time, yeah.
But so much can happen. Hell, in 5 months, let alone 5 years, in regards to somebody's character or how they build their life or whatever. Yeah. Like, dude, you can accomplish a lot in that amount of time.
Yeah. The one, I mean, and I've said this, I think, on another episode we've done, but I had a breakup happen when I started this podcast, like right before, 2019 or something, which was a huge life change for me. I was probably one of my biggest life-changing events that has happened so far in my life. Is I was just like a really serious relationship for me. And since then, like, I've been celibate. I cut out porn. There's been a few things that I've just made a decision of I don't want that anymore. Quit vaping. I quit. Yeah, there's been a bunch of shit that I've cut out of my life that has only helped improve.
I've heard vaping is extremely hard to.
It's hard as shit.
Yeah. Because I at one time was a cigarette smoker back in the day.
Okay.
And I wanted to date a girl. The reason she wouldn't date me was because I smoked cigarettes, and I didn't know this until one day she told me. Now that girl's my wife.
Excellent.
So, but it was because I think I was saying, I consider myself extremely strong-minded, and cigarettes is a hard thing for most people to cut out completely. One day she was like, I'll date you if you stop, if you cut smoking out. And I literally stopped that day and never picked up another one.
That's how that's basically what I did too.
I still don't know how, but I did.
Yeah, I made a decision one day and cut cold turkey, and that's it. From there, I was like, I don't want that.
You'll do crazy things for the things you want, man. Like, especially another person. Like, if you're, because I had a feeling. I just knew that me and her. Like, I knew that. Like, we had been friends for 4 years. So I always say she friends on me for 4 years.
All because you were smoking cigarettes, man.
I don't think that's the only reason. But
I'm kidding.
I was told that was a gigantic reason. So and it's valid, man. Because when I stopped and I was around it and I started to smell what I probably smelled like, I was like, oh my God, why didn't anybody tell me before this time, to stop?
And the vaping stuff, you don't smell like anything. It's fruit flavored or it's whatever. So it's even
that's that dangerous
you're addicted to the flavor too.
Yeah. Well, it's the feeling. It's probably still you still probably get like that like cooling. You know that thing that whatever nicotine does. I don't know. But yeah, I can imagine that vaping is extremely addictive and stuff to cut out.
Yes. Another thing, I know that you have been sober from alcohol for a little over a year now.
That was I feel like that was my one thing, forever. Like it was always, which is weird because I think it might be because of like in high school, like I didn't like drink I didn't drink till I got to college. Like, so, but I'm also a big guy and
high tolerance.
Being in the clubs too and having free access to alcohol for the majority of your life, really.
And formative years of becoming an adult too.
Yeah, dude. It was a lot of alcohol and like the amount that I was consuming and what it was doing to me character wise, what it was doing to me, who it was affecting around me. All those points, like that was my like self-destructive weapon. Like that's really what I couldn't fight that. Until one day, again, like I had lost so many friends. I'd made mistakes, but from alcohol, that was the common denominator from everything bad that was happening to me in my life. Like that was always there. Yeah. Like that was always in the picture. And, I was like, okay, well, cut out the common denominator.
Yeah.
Is it going to be a different result? Probably.
Probably. Yeah.
And, the way it was affecting my body and my health and my mental health and like all this stuff, like.
It's a lot of freaking calories, bro. Dude, physically, mentally. Yeah.
Like, and it wasn't. It got to the low point like during COVID when everything stopped and I was just literally just be in my house just drinking because I was collecting government money. I was just sitting here, that's what I was doing to pass the time. I was just making music and drinking and cooking food. Like that's what my COVID experience was. And it just kind of it got to that extremely low point. To the point where I honestly thought I was going to die. I remember looking in the mirror. Literally, when I talk about it, it gives me goosebumps and stuff still because I remember sitting here. I remember me looking in the mirror like I'm going to die if I don't stop. You know what I mean? And I almost lost everything. I'll just say that. I almost lost everything. And one of those, it was a decision I made November 1st of 2020. Cut it out. Never picked it up again.
Congrats. That's awesome.
Now I drink yerba mates.
Those are delicious.
Oh my God, bro. I just tweeted about it because these things, shout out to Stephanie Landerfield, my manager, because she gave me my first one of these.
She's awesome.
Oh my God. And then I gave one of these, and then I gave one of these this weekend to High Zombie, and he was like, "This is the greatest thing I've ever had in my entire life." Because it's like organic, like energy, but it's not
you don't
carbonated. It's not. No, it tastes like tea.
Yep.
Tastes like sweet tea, like sweet flavored tea. It's freaking delicious. Pop one of those in the morning or in the middle of the day, like when you're trying to push through.
Yeah.
You will.
Yeah. That's another thing. I've recently, from start of October to the New Year's, I cut out caffeine for 3 months. Just gave myself a full reset.
Unbelievable.
And now, that was hard for me because I had been drinking caffeine and like coffee religiously every morning since sophomore year of high school.
Well,
like over 10 years.
Maybe I could do that. Maybe I could do that because so the only thing that sucks is that I love I love sodas. Like I love them.
See, I'm not a huge soda drinker.
I don't drink them a lot. I just like them. Like I like weird. Like I got like black cherry soda in my fridge. I got like cream soda, some cheer wine.
That's some southern shit right there.
Yeah, you already know. Yeah. No, they got good soda down here, man. But
that's awesome.
No, I wonder if I could do that. Do you know if there's caffeine in? You ever had like those Mio energies.
Yes,
It's like the
yes.
spray,
The energy,
but you squirt
the
it in
energy
the water
ones,
bottle.
yes. Yep. The
Do
energy
those have
ones,
caffeine?
yes. The energy ones, yes. The
God.
non-energy ones don't. Yeah.
See, that was what I was going to say. I could do it if those didn't have any caffeine in them.
Are you a big Neo guy?
I really like it.
Yeah.
It makes me go, man. Like that, like it's so weird. More so even than like drinking like a Reign or a Monster or whatever. Like yerbas will, and Mio Energy makes me go, man. I don't. It makes no sense. And I feel like I'm drinking a water. It's not again just
true. It's
like
not super potent. Yeah.
It doesn't make you feel. There's no like real crash afterwards. You don't feel like defeated after like a few hours.
That's what my problem was. I would drink coffee in the morning, and then by 2 o'clock I'd need something else, and I'd drink like an energy drink or something or a yerba or whatever, and I'd be drinking it twice a day with like 400 or 500 milligrams of caffeine, and I was like, my body needs a break.
I worked with somebody at one time when I was working at a car dealership. I was detailing cars, but one of the managers, like the sale managers, he drank, no lie, you know the giant Red Bulls?
Big gulps?
No,
Red Bulls, yeah.
Like
the 64s?
The big ones.
Yeah.
He would, no lie, he would literally drink minimum 5 of them.
Oh my God. Holy shit. That's a lot of caffeine.
This guy sold so many cars.
That's like 2,000 milligrams caffeine.
Dude. And he was a big guy. Like, but I was like, every day at the end, if I was like closing at the end of the day, I would go like turn in what I had to turn into him. And he literally, the cans would be sitting there. And like, cause he would just put it over here and then he'd crack another one and he'd just sit it there. And he, all day. It probably just got to the point. Drink
water, bro.
It probably just got to the point where he was doing it so often and so repetitively that it just became a habit. And then the amount, because of his tolerance to what it was doing to him energy-wise, just kept growing. And to the point, I was like, dude, I couldn't even drink one of them things. They're the big ones. I don't know.
I could not finish one of those for sure. Yeah.
I drink 3. I'll drink 3 small ones and my heart will feel like it's about to explode. Like
I just sipped on a Celsius this morning.
I actually like those.
This is not a sponsored episode, by the way.
I actually like
200 milligrams of caffeine. I'm feeling it for sure right now.
I like those, man. I like coffee too. I like cold coffee.
Yeah.
Like iced coffees, a cold brews.
In the afternoon.
Yeah, bro. Salted caramel cold brew from Starbucks. That's it.
I had a few more questions about you getting off alcohol, though. Did you go through like any form of like recovery or anything like that to get off, and you just did it by yourself?
Yep.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
I know. I have. Do you have family members who have addiction problems as well? Is that hereditary for you, or you just no?
Nope.
No. It's like I know a lot of people, like myself included. I have family who are in AA and have gone through the recovery process.
I mean, my family drinks. Like on my side of the family, more so than my wife's, but my mom will have a glass of wine. My dad,
in moderation.
My dad will have a couple beers, and my older brother will have a couple. I didn't have that. That was the problem. I couldn't say no. I couldn't do that because it was like once the liquid hit my mouth, it was go time.
It's go. Yep.
Yeah. I wanted more and more and more until I literally couldn't operate. Really, like blackout, whatever, like that. It was very, very, very destructive. But like, I don't know. I still don't know why, because it's not like it's very weird to me that something would have got like that was the thing that got me to be addicted to it in a way like that. It's weird.
Yeah, alcohol is a very addictive substance, though, for a lot of people. So.
It's very hard to like. I'm actually more proud of the fact that I hadn't had any like withdrawals or anything like that. That I've been able that I've been able to, especially because I'm what I'm around. You know, it's I always have to step back at times and be like, damn, like it didn't seem hard to me, but like when people hear about it, they're like, whoa, like just because for me, when I don't want to do anything, I don't want to partake in anything, I won't. And if my mind is made up and that I know that like if I were to withdraw, like, or relapse or whatever you want to call it, like the thought of losing everything scares the shit out of me. And so like that fear essentially is like, no, because I think there's so many other things that taste better and that won't make me feel like shit.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Drink
really,
yeah.
delicious. Feel great. Can still be productive.
Still function.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think getting off alcohol, and that's something that because my family has a history and stuff, I try. And you saw me drink, the other night when we were in person at the club or whatever. But I mean, I drink.
I don't even pay
so
attention to
often.
that shit, man. It's so weird because people come up to me that know, and they're always like, "Oh, I'm sorry." I'm like, "Bro, I don't even pay attention to that shit.
Yeah.
I've toned that out in my mind like so much. I don't even like people offer me like drinks and shots and stuff all the time, and they're like, "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "No, like I just."
It's your decision to make and stick to.
Don't be sorry for it. It's a good thing. Like, what do you mean? Like, don't apologize. You're not disrespecting me. I'm not gonna freaking cancel you on Twitter or nothing.
Offer you a shot or something. Yeah, right.
Yeah, like,
offer you a shot or something, and then be like, if you say no, I'd honestly have more of an inclination to be like, good for you. Then like, what I mean? Oh, I'm sorry. Like, yeah.
It's just it's something that I personally had to decide in my life based on the experiences that I've had in my life. So I made that decision solely by myself, that to better my life, I have to cut this out.
Yep. That's
very,
it. Very awesome. What do you think has added to your the mental strength and stuff that you have with everything?
Honestly, I think I don't know. I think maybe growing up in sports and getting, yelled at and cussed at since I was 8 years old because I missed a ground ball or I gave up a home run or I struck out or something like that. Like the Southeast is cutthroat, man, when you're talking about athletics. And especially if you're at one of the good schools that have a history of good athletics. I mean,
it's like pro athlete status almost, that kind of pressure.
That's what I respond to. I had to, at a young age, sort of compartmentalize things and like focus above all else and really focus on the task at hand and tune out outside noise and, just all these things that are going to mess you up mentally. Like I try pretty hard to work on, my brain and my mental health. But I mean,
what kinds of things do you do to
honestly
exercise that?
One music is a lifesaver. I think everybody can agree on that. My family and my support system around me that I have, I would say, my dogs, like going on walks, playing basketball, like still like just doing things, like not just sitting and because I can't sit still anyway. Like
same ADHD.
My brain's always turning all the time, and so I cook. I like my house being clean. I like playing with my dogs. I like playing video games. I like, spending time with my wife. I like going to eat. And I'm always constantly
doing stuff
that
are good for you.
And me and my wife really like we like going and being active and doing things and going places and seeing people and all that stuff. Like we're always scheduling things. Even if we're dead tired, we schedule things and do things. And because she works remote, I technically work remote. So like whenever we aren't working or doing something productive in the house, we go do stuff.
Out and do something. Yeah. Which I think is another important point for the artists or people who want to be in this industry to take note of is what, it's healthy. A lot of people can get stuck with just like, okay, the daily grind of getting your, for me, it's the podcast, getting your music produced, getting whatever done. And it's like a lot of people just like forget to take time to go do stuff outside
you have to.
Your job.
Like,
yeah.
It's weird because that's something that I recently kind of had to get better at because I was always like workhorse, just like finish this song, do this. What's the next thing I have to do? Do this interview, do this social media post, do these things, send emails here, like doing all these different things. But I think as I've gotten older and I've, my life has slowed down in a way, like physically for me, that I really like, I have to stop and enjoy things. Like I never really enjoyed things in regards to like if I accomplish something, I never like took the time to actually process. And
Celebrate.
I was like, that's great. Let's keep going. Let's move on. Like that's just on the grind when you're super, super inspired and you're super passionate and you want something really bad, your whole life consumes it. And that's essentially what my life consists of. It was like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? I got to get there. I got to get there. Each year that went by, I was like, work harder, work harder, work harder, work harder, work harder. Because I was just like, I'm just going to work hard and I know it's going to take a long time, but the ways that I want to do anything, but like people are going to respect me for the way that eventually, if I do get to where I want to go, they'll respect me by the way I did it, by not taking a shortcut and doing it the honest way and doing it my way, essentially. That I'll be able to hang my hat on that and nobody will be able to take that away from me because I made each choice along the way to get to each point and progress.
That's awesome, man. I think we're running out of time here, but I think that's an excellent note to leave this on. Before we wrap up, do you have any questions for me?
I don't know, man. I don't know. I'll ask you this. Are you a football watcher?
I'm not. I'm not a sports guy at all. My family isn't. Yeah, unfortunately, I know.
Okay.
And I don't have really anyone around me to like get involved with.
It's okay, man. It's all right.
Yeah, I grew up watching racing. I was a big NASCAR fan growing up. My dad's a huge NASCAR fan. My grandpa used to drag race, so I grew up around racing, but sports not so much.
I feel that.
Yeah.
Hey, NASCAR.
And that's why I play water polo.
You gotta be really physically fit to actually control those cars. And
dude.
People sleep on that. No, it's
They're
insane.
athletes.
It's insane. Yeah, more so than a lot.
They have to train. They have to, having to take a piss for that amount of time. No, thank you.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
No way. I'll be on lap 2, taking a number 2. I swear.
I think some guys actually wear diapers.
I would. If I'm being I would. I have another question for you. Do you eat at Arby's?
No, I do not.
Thank you.
I think it's garbage.
Thank you. Finally, somebody agrees. Somebody's not blinded by the curly fries.
Curly fries, I can get those in Jack in the Box. What?
You can get them at Walmart, bro.
I can get them at Walmart, yeah.
And they taste better. Put them in the air fryer. It tastes better. That's it.
Well, where can the listeners get in touch with you?
So I'm like literally like on Instagram all day long. Like
Instagram my spot too.
It's quick communication. It's easy. Mm-hmm. Like, there's.
I like the format too.
Yeah, I do too.
The videos and stuff. Yeah.
I do too. A lot actually. Really, and unless people have me on Facebook, I'm on there all day. Or I have access to it all day, and Twitter too. Yeah. Twitter too. I'm on Twitter a good bit, but.
Are you taking clients at all for your mentorship? Or
yes.
Are you working on that? Okay.
Literally, just whenever I have a good bit of them. But whenever I'll make posts like every single week of like at the beginning of the week, like if I have like open slots or something like that. But I'm doing all year round for people, and that that can cover mentorship, industry advice, that can cover production, that can cover DJing, literally anything under the sun that somebody may have a question about. I just try to do the best and give my knowledge and my experience to help these artists progress, and I get them at every level, whether it's the beginning or as people that are farther along in their musical journey. Like I get all different things. So literally all week.
Hit you up for that.
Hit my DMs. I'm the guy in my DMs. It's not. I don't have nobody in my social media. I'm on it all day.
Awesome. Last question. I ask this question at the end of every single interview. If there's one piece of advice you could give yourself when you first started producing music or DJing in your case, what would it be?
Be patient.
Be patient. Yeah, it takes a long time.
Well, I think we're in a world of impatience right now. And I think everyone wants everything quickly, and even success. People want success quickly. But, patience is a virtue. My dad used to say that to me all the time, and I never understood what it meant until I got older. And at times I feel like we try to rush life by, you know what I mean? And we do what I did. We don't take in our wins or recognize ourselves for our wins and our accomplishments along the way sometimes. But I feel like we need to enjoy things, because that's ultimately like where my happiness comes from, is that now I enjoy things. Now, whenever something happens, I can sit back and be like, I deserve this. I worked hard
Mhm.
for this, and be proud of myself for it.
So our last episode was with Jaqui, and we talked about imposter syndrome. And I think being able to actually feel like you earned it and you deserved it and you did put in the time for it, it almost helps mitigate the imposter syndrome too.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you want like anything that's worth anything, you're
Mhm.
going to have to work hard for.
Yep. And it's gonna feel
Otherwise,
nice when you get there.
a lot of people would be able to do what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And, you know, be patient and don't beat yourself up if it doesn't happen in the exact time frame you want it to. I used to be like, if I'm not there where I want to be by 30, I'm quitting. I used to say that.
Yeah.
Now I'm sitting here at 30 and I open this interview with I'm the hungriest I've ever been.
Yeah.
And I would say that's something I would say when I was 25. And now, you know, now I'm like, nah, I'm rolling. I'm trying to go. And
you're getting to the point to where you're
trying,
starting
man.
to, yeah.
Work's not done.
Awesome, man. Yeah, definitely not. Never will be, really.
No.
Thank you so much for your time today. Man. Thank you for being on the podcast, and it was awesome having you.
Thank you, man. Of course, anytime.